Cool. All right. So without further ado, let's just kick right off. And like I said, I've seen a lot of familiar faces here in the audience. Some of our stewards, some of our OGs, citizens of Mantle. Thank you all for joining yet another Mantle Ecosystem Deep Dive. For anybody who's new to these are live product demos, workshops, or educational events. We host these pretty much on a weekly basis here in Discord with different projects in our ecosystem. Today we've got three projects. This is our first multi-project or team deep dive. So this is exciting for me. We'll see exactly how this goes. Probably take some learnings here to take into the future events. But just a quick disclaimer here, just to get this out of the way. Nothing here is financial advice, any kind of endorsement, guarantee, warranty, or other recommendation by myself or anybody up here on stage for that matter. NFA, DYOR, we're not in the business of giving advice. So yeah, do your own research there before jumping in. Why don't we go through a round of intros? I'll just really briefly introduce myself. I'm Brian. I am one of the community folks. Some people call me community lead. I like to think that I'm part of a broader community team that leads different sort of groups. So here I am hosting once again. If you have questions about my journey or what it is that I do, feel free to tag me in the channels. I'm happy to dive in with you. But why don't we hand it over to the Aurelius team? Maybe we can start with Charles and then you can pass it from there. Just a little bit about your background and maybe what you do over at Aurelius.
Totally. So hello everyone, I'm Charles. I am part of the growth team at Conclave, which we are colloquially known as the Byte Masons. We are the engineering firm behind Aurelius Finance. So I'm part of the growth team. I do some BD, I do some treasury management as well. It's lovely to be here. I was part-time with the team for about, almost 2 years now while I was finishing school, and I finished at the end of April, so it's been about 6 weeks of me being full-time in DeFi, and it feels like, 6 months, but I'm now doing what I love all the time, so it's awesome and exhilarating. So thanks for having me here, and excited to talk about Aurelius.
Awesome. I'll take that as my cue. I'm Corval. I help with marketing with Conclave. I helped kind of organize some of the marketing efforts for Aurelius, including the SALT program, the points program that is actively running right now. I've been in crypto for quite a while, it feels like, not as long as some other people, but about 2021. I do general media creation as well around, you might have seen like Phantom Alerts or Block Bytes. I've done some videos with them. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys and to talk about Mantle. Should I call out someone next? Or?
Yeah, Stephen, why don't you give a quick intro?
Yeah, I guess just quickly, I am Stephen, and I am the community manager at Conclave, and now for Aurelius. And I've also started as a community member back in 21 with the Byte Masons, and along the journey now I've kind of become and transitioned into, I guess, naturally into community management. I've been around for a while and it all kind of came to be, and I'm really happy to be here, happy to talk to all of you, Mantle, Bancor, Velocimeter, and yeah, thanks guys.
Perfect. Why don't we hand it over to the Bancor team. Jen, give us a quick intro on yourself and some of your background maybe.
Sure. So I got into the space in about 2020, really just a huge passion for the technology. I wanted to learn anything and everything I possibly could about it. About 6 months later, I became a Chainlink community advocate. I was part of the Bancor community and the Bancor DAO, really drawn to Bancor from its roots in DeFi. And it was maybe about 6 months after that I was invited to become a full-time contributor at Bancor. I had never really thought about joining the industry full-time, but doing what I absolutely love to do. I do some marketing, some brand, community, I kind of have my hands in all of the above. I also host Blockchain Banter, which Mantle was a guest of ours not too long ago, actually. We do a live stream and host, new chains, new projects, and really just try to get to know and educate new and existing users on everything, within the industry. Maybe Mark wants to take over.
Pick up after that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so prior to blockchain and Web3 and decentralized exchange, I was an organic synthetic chemist. I joined the Web3 community in 2020 during the pandemic. I feel like a lot of people during that time, just in time for DeFi summer. And first as a DAO member for a couple of different protocols. And then I was offered a full-time contract as a researcher for Bancor in January of 2021. Shortly after that, I was the lead researcher, then the product architect, and now the project leader. And since assuming leadership of the project, I've been trying to transition Bancor to be more of a sort of a B2B solution. And Carbon DeFi is our flagship product at the moment, which is both a white labeled decentralized exchange solution and also not an AMM. So moving away from sort of the establishing technology that I think Bancor is known for, and now sort of carving out a new niche for ourselves as being a little bit more sophisticated and paying closer attention to the needs of blockchains in an exchange context outside of what AMMs are able to accomplish. And so the relationship that I have with Caesar, also on the call, is that I think he's an advisor to Velocimeter, which is one of our licensees who has deployed Carbon DeFi and Mantle. And we're extremely excited that they are, one, decentralizing the technology, and two, that by way of our relationship with them, are also a part of the Mantle community. I'm extremely bullish on Mantle and everything that it's doing. So very, very proud to be here, and I'm very excited to be speaking with all of you.
Amazing. We can hand over to Caesar. Caesar, you want to give us some background on what you do over there at Velocimeter?
Yeah, sure. I'm Caesar, Caesar Snack Sandwich. I started a YouTube channel about 3 years ago, just researching DeFi and just sharing that stuff, right? Since that time to this time, I've kind of advised, helped out, helped launch, taken part in many projects. But today I'm here to talk about Velocimeter and Graphene, which is like the licensed fork of Carbon DeFi that Velocimeter runs. I'm also a huge fan of the Byte Masons and all of the stuff they produce. So I'm in a pretty unique position where I pretty much love everybody on the stage.
Yeah, privileged position to be up here with all of you as well. And for anybody who didn't catch on, like throughout all those intros, if you're interested in getting into this space, whether that's like working or just contributing, the number one thing that I sort of realized in the path of a lot of folks here is that you can just start contributing, and that's one of the key values of this space is you can start contributing, sharing value, adding value, and potentially be pulled on to a team. That's my journey as well. Awesome. Thank you all so much for those intros. Just a quick overview of our agenda. So for everybody here on stage, feel free to jump into the discussion. Let's like kind of leave this somewhat open, free flowing. But we will have some structure here. We'll start with Bancor discussing Carbon. Then we'll move over to Velocimeter discussing Graphene, and then to Aurelius to chat about everything you guys are doing over there, including aUSD. but I know there's a lot of like synergistic collaboration going on here. So feel free to jump in and add context, ask questions, all of those things for anybody on stage. And for everybody who's in the audience, there is a chat. So if you're not familiar, hover over the channel, click the speech bubble there, and you can jump into the chat. Ask questions throughout. I'll do my best to tag those, and we'll pepper those in, or we'll cover them at the end. Also, feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to speak on stage later on when we open it up to Q&A. We do have some rewards here on the Mantle side. You can complete the question task. We have a commemorative sort of NFT for every single one of these events. So if you've attended a bunch of these, you've got a stockpile of your sort of history of being a deep dive legend. You can get one by going to this link that I just posted in the chat. If you enter the password that we announce at some point during this event, then you will be entered to win some MNT. And for anybody who's a Citizen of Mantle NFT holder and has the Citizen of Mantle role, you'll have 2 chances to win. All you have to do is just engage here in the chat, drop memes, drop questions, help other people. Yep, just generally spread the good vibes. And then maybe Steven, I can hand it over to you to talk about just briefly what the Aurelius rewards are for this space.
Sure. So I want to start it off by saying that we'll be giving out 200 MNT as a reward, and it'll be split across 5 participants. So if you mint aUSD, you'd have to mint, I think it was 1K or over 1K aUSD, just minted on our page, which Orville will be showing us how to do later today, and submit that transaction to us, and we'll check it and it's approved, and then we'll run a raffle if we have more than 4 participants, and 4 of those will win 50 MNT each. So that's us.
Amazing. I just posted those details too in the chat, so do jump on that. And yeah, like you said, we'll learn about how to do that if you're not familiar in this event. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mark and Jen to give us the lowdown on Bancor, Carbon, and your guys' collaboration with the rest of the folks here.
Ben, why don't you go first?
I was just going to say the same thing. You want to give a little bit of an intro on Bancor, more so than you did earlier, or good? I could go straight into Carbon DeFi.
Jen, go for it. Go straight into Carbon DeFi.
Okay. So Carbon DeFi is not an AMM, but users can achieve everything on Carbon DeFi that they can on an AMM, but everything that they cannot on Carbon DeFi as well. So Carbon DeFi is more of an order book like DEX. It has these same sort of features as an order book that you would find on a centralized exchange, but then it has more. You can create limit orders. The entire concept behind Carbon DeFi, and I'm sure Mark will add to this as well, is similar to what he said earlier. And users should be able to achieve exactly what they want to achieve when they go to make a trade, when they go to provide liquidity or anything of this sort, right? And they can't necessarily at the moment. Well, they couldn't, is what I should say. You can go in and determine exactly what price point you want to buy or sell a token and receive that exact amount once your trade occurs. You can go in and create a range. You want to scale into a position if you want to, okay, I want to buy this dip. Here's my target price. I want to start buying here. I want to buy down to here. This is something that Carbon DeFi allows users to do in a very, very simple automated format. You go in and you determine 2 price points. I want to start buying or selling here and buy, down to here, or buy or sell down or up to this price point. But then it takes it one step farther, where when you see, there's a token pair that you want to trade, you're able to connect a buy order and a sell order and create this sort of 24/7 buy low, sell high automated trading strategy. It's hands off. It's all automated for you. And it was created really with this sort of, like I said, user experience in mind, with this automation and gas fees, minimal gas fees as well. So I can speak to that after. Concentrated liquidity, if you've interacted with DeFi at all, you're at least somewhat familiar with concentrated liquidity. This is something that Carbon DeFi offers as well. But you'll notice a few slight differences. 3 main differences. One is auto compounding when you earn your fees. It's not kept in a separate bucket or a separate contract that you have to go in and manually add back into your position. This is done automatically on, Carbon DeFi, I should say Graphene as well, right, Caesar? On Graphene and Carbon DeFi. The other is tick constraints. There are no tick constraints. So you can go in and you can create whatever sort of range you want to create. And there are custom fee tiers. So rather than the protocol or an AMM telling you, your fee tier is, I don't care if you call it a fee tier or a spread. This is essentially your profit margin, right? So to have a DEX limit you on the sort of profit that you can make on your trades doesn't make sense. At least not, it's not what we're looking to do. You want to go in and you want to be able to say, this is how much money I want to make on my trade. And this is exactly what you can do on Carbon DeFi and on Graphene on Mantle. There are some other use cases. Mark, you might be able to talk to those a little bit more clearly, eloquently than I'll be able to. So maybe I'll go ahead and pass it over to you. But in short, this product was made to allow users to achieve exactly what they want to achieve when they're providing their liquidity and when they're making their trades on chain.
Yeah, so I'm happy to pick it up from that. So Carbon, in my opinion, was motivated by what I consider to be the most obvious shortcomings of the technology that preceded it. Not really, not much has really happened since the birth of AMMs back in 2017. Sure, we've had some incremental improvements, things like concentrated liquidity, but at its core, it's really the same mechanism. This idea of having 2 or more tokens on a bonding curve, and that their relative balances will determine each other's prices. The reason why that was a good idea back in 2017 is that there were very few tokens that were being issued on Ethereum that were accepted by centralized exchanges like Binance and so on. And the AMM allows allows for sort of a pseudo marketplace to emerge that resembles how conventional marketplaces operate. But it does have several shortcomings. One is that you are forced to buy a financial instrument when you provide liquidity that you might not accept or that you might not be interested in owning. We won't get into the details of that, but just know that providing liquidity can be it represents a very specific view of how the financial markets are going to evolve for the tokens that you're providing liquidity in. And a lot of users, I think, don't understand that financial device. But what they do understand are the simple things, like I want to sell my Bitcoin when it gets to $100,000, or if there's a capitulation from here, I'm happy to buy Bitcoin when it goes to $20,000, things like that. The overwhelming majority of liquidity providers to centralized exchanges are exactly doing that. Placing bids and asks at specific price points and waiting for the market to interact with them. There will be a healthy amount of people that are trading market, but I think trading the book, meaning quoting a price that you want to trade at, is a very natural and relatively easy financial primitive to understand. So much so that things like eBay and Amazon are basically that. I list a good and I ask for a certain price and wait for someone to buy it for me. Carbon enables that kind of simplicity. It has removed itself from the underlying sort of or the approximation of a healthy marketplace that an AMM was intended to provide. And I think that it's a good time to do that. Blockchains have come a really long way. We've got extremely fast and reliable blockchains now, Mantle included. where a more order book-like structure can now be supported, whereas in the early days of Ethereum, it was like hopelessly complicated to do something like that. Not just because the blockchain that Ethereum is kind of slow, but also because I don't think we had the breadth of knowledge and understanding that we have now about things like bonding curves and pricing models that we have today. And so Carbon is really like splitting the atom. It's really getting down to the smallest, most important components of what decentralized exchange infrastructure is built on. And I'm proud that we are the first to get it down into its single token bonding curves and allow people to quote arbitrary prices. And this is why I say that Carbon it has more in common with eBay and Amazon than it does with Bancor V1 or Balancer or Uniswap and so forth. It's a much more general, much more flexible, much more natural way for a market to exist. And I'm very thankful to see it becoming adopted. And the feedback that we get from people that try it and understand it, I think, has been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that this is a very positive direction for DeFi and decentralized exchange move in general. And very, very proud of Velocimeter to bring it to Mantle.
Can I jump in here and add a couple thoughts on that before we go to Velocimeter? If you're providing liquidity to anywhere, like in the sense of like Uniswap or Clio or any of these kind of like AMAs where you're providing concentrated liquidity or even constant product, the full range 50-50 tokens. If you're doing any of this, then you are in fact a trader. You are a market maker trader. You are putting your tokens and saying, I'm willing to sell my tokens at all of these prices. What Carbon does is it kind of gives you, as a market maker, more abilities to control where you sell your tokens. It's as simple as that. Like, if you go to Uniswap and you say, I want to provide like concentrated liquidity from this price to this price, then you're very restricted on how you're going to sell those tokens. You're definitely going to be buying and selling tokens throughout those ranges. But with Carbon, as we'll show with some screenshots in the future, I'll do a screen share and I'll show you kind of how to make a strategy. You can really control where you want to put those tokens for sale and where you don't want to buy or sell tokens. And that's not something you can do in those other places. The way I kind of think about it is like Uniswap or the old AMM style was trying to make it as simple as possible so that people would provide liquidity, and then there would be a lot of liquidity in the market for people to trade and sell. So there's still a place for like wide ranges and stuff like that, especially for volatile tokens. But the people who get it, the people who understand it, know that, why should I be selling in the middle when I can buy at the bottom and sell at the top, or somewhere close to that? So we'll get into that. We'll share the screen and you'll kind of understand what we're talking about a little bit more. But it's like an upgrade. Once you understand like how to provide liquidity to any of those normal AMAs, you really should be at least thinking about using Carbon. And then even before the Carbon or Graphene, even before you learn about that, if you haven't learned how to do the normal AMAs, you should probably look at Carbon first, because like what Mark has just said, it's very simple to understand. I want to sell my tokens here and I want to buy more tokens here. Or I don't even want to buy. I've already bought my tokens and I want to sell them up there. Like, it can be as simple as that.
Awesome.
That's it for now.
Corval, did you want to jump in here?
No, I was just digesting what Caesar was saying here about the control. I'm excited to see it in action. I played with Carbon a little bit, but I'm kind of a monkey when it comes to this stuff. I'm not the most sophisticated trader.
I'll add a little something.
Just before Charles, before you go.
Oh, okay. No, go ahead.
Yeah, Corval, I'm going to actually make some strategies with METH and aUSD just to kind of illustrate how your community can kind of jump in here as well.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, something I really like about Carbon, if we can all jump on the Carbon train, is the range orders and limit orders. Like once the order gets filled, they will lock in that trade. Whereas on Uniswap, if you're setting a custom sort of limit order through, like an out of range one tick thing, if the price goes back down, you have to withdraw once that order gets filled. Because if the price goes back down, you're just going to reverse your trade. Where on Carbon, it's locked in, and that, I don't know. I appreciate that. I've dabbled a little bit in the range orders. So, anyways, shout out Bancor.
Thank you. We've spoken about the irreversible orders, and I don't think that, many realize how big a difference it actually makes. Like once your trade is completed, like that's a full, like if your order is fully filled, is partially filled, whatever it happens to be, those tokens that you acquire are your tokens to turn around and do whatever you choose with. The market retraces, you're not giving that back. And I think that that's something that I didn't mention. I don't think Mark did either. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I enjoy the fact that you appreciate that as well.
Good on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And why don't we move on over to Velocimeter with Caesar. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can take over the screen share here.
All right. Give me a sec here.
Just a quick reminder for everybody in the chat, do ask your questions in the comments there. We're going to be marking those and we'll ask them throughout. We might bring them up in the middle of the presentations here, but there's also going to be a chance to ask some questions at the end. And just a reminder, you can earn some MNT by engaging here in the chat, and questions are one of those ways if you're a citizen of Mantle. Cool, I'll hand it over to you, Caesar.
Okay, I'm sharing my entire screen here. I got a lot of tabs open, so feel free to see what I'm looking at and stuff. But anyhow, I've got two things to show you today, and the first one is Velocimeter and then Graphene. I'm going to try to spend most of my time on Graphene because Velocimeter is a pretty commonly known system. It's just basically a BE33 with a couple little bells and whistles. Okay, so this is a MVM Mantle on Velocimeter on Mantle. Velocimeter is on several chains. If you go here, you can see there are other chains, but each chain is isolated and they're not connected in any way. There's no bridging risk. If you're bullish Mantle, then you should be looking at MVM and only MVM, because this instance is, like I said, completely isolated to Mantle. The thing that makes Velocimeter's MVM different than like Aerodrome or Velodrome or Mises or all of that is that we emit options tokens. So if you go to you provide liquidity to any of these any of these liquidity pairs, you're going to earn OMVM. So we even have graphene pairs, as you can see, and we have volatile assets, which are 50-50, constant product. So I'll talk about these graphene strategies in a second, and but if you wanted to provide liquidity to something constant product, you can, and you can earn OMVM. Now, whenever you earn OMVM, you would go to these options tokens page, and you can take your OMVM and you can convert it into something more useful. Okay, so you can zap into MVM. So you could basically just convert them into liquid tokens and then do what you want with them, which is usually sell. However, when you kind of convert into MVM, then you pay the most of an exercise fee. So you have to pay this exercise fee, and the exercise fee, if we go back to liquidity, then press to talk. As you can see, there's a Mantle APR on our token, right? So if you provide liquidity to our token, then you get the exercise fees from everybody exercising those Mantle tokens, or those OMVM. So OMVM has a cost to exercise. That cost is given to the people who are providing liquidity to this. So I like to tell people, it's like you have to pay the liquidity providers for the right to dump on them, okay? Now, the other option is you can go into the liquidity pool directly with your options tokens. And then, as you can see, the discount is 80% as opposed to 20%. Now, this discount is on the price, the market price, the current TWAP market price. So the market price of Mantle, of MVM in the market. So both people are getting tokens cheaper, but as you can see, it's much more of a bigger discount for the people who provide liquidity. Now, they do have to lock for 60 days in order to get that full 80%. And if they reduce the locking time, then the discount moves down. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, very, very quick, a lot of information bombarded at you about what is Velocimeter on Mantle. But like I said, today we're going to talk mostly about Graphene so that we can kind of connect everybody together, because Graphene is the hub between Carbon and our other guest, which is Aurelius Finance. I'll leave Aurelius I'll leave these guys to talk about this later. So on Graphene, if you provide liquidity to ETH, aUSD, as well as some other things, you go to rewards up here. You can see we have 3 pairs that are incentivized right now. So you can provide liquidity to any of these, and you will get additional rewards if your strategies are executed. So another way to word this is, you are a market maker. You are putting your liquidities in the market saying, I'm willing to sell these at these prices, whatever those prices happen to be. If someone comes and takes your liquidity, so they come and say, oh, I buy those, I will buy those tokens at those prices, then you're going to get your profit because you set up your strategy, hopefully profitably, but you're also going to get rewarded from us. So we're rewarding these strategies with Mantle as well as OMVM. And Aurelius is actually supplying this 400 Mantle to this strategy here. So kudos to them for, providing this extra reward for the people who want to use this. So go back to strategies. As you can see, I have a small strategy here. It's kind of running. It's a pretty conservative one. I found that the market was going to be a little bit volatile, so I widened my ranges a little bit. And if you look here, this ROI setting right here, where it says ROI 0.0%, this is a pretty new strategy, so it kind of has a 0.0% ROI. Sometimes you'll see this as a negative number. Sometimes you'll see this as a positive number. This number is only a return on investment of my trading strategy. It doesn't consider these extra rewards that I just showed you in this rewards tab. It's basically, is your trading strategy profitable or not? Okay. Now, this is versus HODL. So sometimes, if you're using like 2 tokens and you don't really care about the US dollar value of those 2 tokens, you're just trying to accumulate or something, you might see a negative number here because maybe both tokens are going down, but you're like, I want to get more and more ETH right now because it's going down. So your number might be negative there, just to kind of illustrate that you're versus US dollars, you're kind of losing, but maybe your quantity of ETH is growing quite quickly, right? In that sense. So this number here is your trading strategy being, effective or not at doing what you want it to do, which is usually to gain more US dollars. Down here in these 2 boxes here, it kind of talks a little bit about the reward system that I explained here. So the rewards are given out on a weekly basis. So this epoch volume is 1 week. Okay, so on a week, after the week, we take a snapshot of everybody's weekly volume, and this strategy has 5.21% of the total weekly volume so far. So it's not too bad. It's doing pretty good. It's not the best strategy, but it's doing pretty good. So I have I have produced $1,000 worth of volume, which is 5% of the total volume, and I'm going to get like $20 worth of Mantle and OMVM extra on top of any kind of buying high and selling low that I produced, which is an APR of about 35%. Now these numbers, again, they're not estimates, they're calculators, but I don't really follow them with a close eye and be like, oh, that APR is not good enough or bad enough, because it's a weekly thing. After the week changes, these numbers reset to zero, and then we start again, right? So let's kind of go through these, create a strategy, and you can kind of see how things work. So
did Caesar cut out for me or for everybody else also?
Yeah, I've got a push to hold, so it's kind of a pain.
Okay.
It looks like I've got something in the tab here, or in the search box, and I can't get rid of it. Yeah, this is bugging out. I'm gonna have to refresh. Give me a sec.
Might be all those tabs you have open, Caesar.
Refresh is the magical button of DeFi.
It's the magical button of DeFi.
No, it's good. That's the actual button that I'm holding to talk. So it kind of put that. It's that little, I don't know what that thing's called beside the number 1, that little symbol. Anyhow, so here are the 4 strategy types that you can kind of create with Graphene or Carbon, and Jen and Mark kind of explained them, but I think visually looking at them kind of gives you a really good idea of what's going on here. So obviously a limit order can be like a single price. I'm willing to buy or sell this token at this price, right? Range order is where you don't know exactly where you want to buy or sell that token. So maybe you're like, oh, between this price and this price, I want to sell these tokens. So these are like what they said, they're irreversible. If this order gets executed, then I won't have to worry about it. I can come in a year and pick up that other token. So in this case, let's do a little quick example with range orders. Limit orders and range orders are almost the same. They're just, this is a single price and this is a range of price. So let's do the range orders. So let's say I'm selling, I've got a little bit of meat here. I want to sell some meat for aUSD between the price of, what's the market price right now? Let's put 3,800 and 3,750. 750. So as you can see, like I can set these prices. That's no financial advice. You decide the prices yourself that you think are good, and you can kind of execute this. So I would say, yes, this is how much meat I want to use to buy between these prices. Now that might be like, this number is probably like I'm willing to sell my meat for aUSD between 3,750 and 3,800. Now later when I come back, if the price rises to 3,900 or 4,000 or 4,500, this will get executed. And then aUSD will be sitting there waiting for me to come and recover. So I'm not going to create this strategy. If I created the strategy, I basically just sign my transaction, pay the gas, and then it'll go onto the blockchain. But I don't want to create this because I want to show you some of the other strategies with these budgets. So I'm going to go back. So here is a recurring order, which is basically 2 range orders, but it could be 2 limit orders. If I really wanted to tighten it down, I could use 2 limit orders. So as you can see, I can just change these to limit orders or range orders. So again, I'm willing to sell. Let's do again market 3,750 to 3,800. This is below market, so let's use exactly market price. So from the current market price up to 3,800, I want to sell the meat for aUSD, and then if the price goes down to say 3,700 to 3,750, I'm willing to buy meat back again. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of create this strategy, even though it's probably not an ideal strategy, but I'm just going to kind of create it so you can kind of see. I love these layer 2 blockchains because I don't care about how much this costs me in gas. I just like do this kind of degen shit to show people. So again, it'll take a few seconds. It's successful. Magic EA DeFi button, refresh, and it should show up. So as you can see, I have this strategy created here. It's I've got a total budget of, I put $87 in there. If the price goes up into this range, it's going to start selling, and if the price goes down into this range, it's going to use that budget to buy those tokens. So this spread is basically as big as I want to make it, right? I can make this huge, or I can make it zero, right? I can make it, those two spreads could be touching each other if I wanted to, right? So again, this is where you kind of start thinking for yourself, where you're kind of thinking, oh, what are the prices that I predict? So I like to use X Screener to do that, which I don't have open, so give me a sec while I open it up. Okay, so let's switch this over to prepare. Okay, so I've got some lines here drawn from when I was thinking about this before. So let's say, what are those numbers that I've used? We've got 750, 700, and basically 760 to 800. So if we look at the chart, we can see that it's basically between, can someone yell out the numbers again, if they can remember? Somewhere around here to somewhere around here, and then something like this. I'd have to like kind of jump around, and I can't use I'm holding the keyboard right now, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. But as you can see, so as the price comes down, it starts buying with my aUSD, and as it goes up into here, it starts selling the METH for more aUSD, and then if it comes down, so you basically look at the history of this chart, and maybe you can think like, oh, I think here and here I want to sell, and here and here I want to buy. Whatever your strategy is, whatever you think is a good idea, then you can kind of set those strategies. And like I said, this spread here can be enormous, right? It can be as big as you want it to be. Okay, so the last strategy type we have is So last strategy type we have is what we call concentrated liquidity. And this is just to kind of make things a little simpler for people. And we don't, like, the market thinks concentrated liquidity is the best thing. And concentrated liquidity is quite good for projects to provide liquidity to, because it makes sure that there's always tokens for sale at all the prices within that concentrated liquidity. But as a trader, it might not always be the best choice. I have created a concentrated liquidity position already for aUSD MF, and that's mostly because I'm being lazy and I don't want to try to predict highs and lows. I'm just like, oh, I'll put it all in there and I'll just try to farm the volume. So it's very similar to what you encounter when you provide concentrated liquidity to any kind of different, like, concentrated liquidity, like Uniswap version 3 or Clio or anything like that. You can set a price of whatever you think is the minimum and whatever you think is the maximum. But what makes this very special is you can set the spread here. We call it spread. Uniswap calls it fees, right? So I can set this to whatever spread I want. Whereas in Uniswap, I could even put, like, 5% spread. So my trading fee, quote unquote trading fee, is 5% with this strategy. Whatever you want. I like to try to look at the charts and see how big these candles are, and kind of use that as an indicator. Like, this is a normal size candle here. The action is 2.4%. So whenever I create this kind of like concentrated liquidity positions, I kind of look at the chart and kind of see what is a healthy spread that is most like in most days going to get hit, and it's about 2%. So if I would put something, I wouldn't put 5% here because it's less likely to get as much volume as I want. So maybe I'd put 2%, maybe whatever. This is your decision where you can decide what you want and what you think is best. So the point is that this allows you to make that decision, and that's what makes it so powerful. So you come down here to math and you decide what tokens you have to create the budget first. So let's say I have one of these, and then it's going to then tell me down here, how much aUSD I need to kind of create this strategy. So there's a little bit of restriction when you use concentrated liquidity because I can't just put tokens on one side like I could if I was using reoccurring, the other kinds of strategies where you have buy high and sell low. In this case, I have to put both tokens, right? And then as the price goes up into here, so if the price is going into the red, it's going to be selling that meth for aUSD, and it's going to put it here, and it's going to build this green bar larger. This green bar is going to follow it up, but the spread is always going to remain 2% between them. So that kind of explains to you how this thing kind of works. And as you can see, I do have this strategy already running with concentrated liquidity. And let me see what I had for my spread. Duplicate strategy. So I have this spread of 1% right now on this strategy, and it's over here now. No, there it is. So I do have that spread of 1% on this already, and I guess I got to refresh again. So this kind of explains how this thing works, and I hope, I've talked for, 20, 25 minutes or something like this. If there's any questions, please, ask us some questions. I haven't been following, I haven't been looking at the question, the chat box, so I think I'm going to stop here for now and kind of, I do have to mention one more thing. These rewards are given out on a weekly basis. So at the end of the epoch, when the epoch flips, it's pretty much today in a couple hours. When that epoch flips, then all your rewards will be claimable here. You can go here and just press claim rewards, and you will get all your rewards. Or you can go to Velocimeter and go to rewards, and they will show up in here for that address. So those are the rewards that I talked about that are over and above the ROI of the strategy, and just that extra mantle that I will get for this specific strategy. This one probably won't get any trading unless there's some serious volatility. But if there is some volatility here and this kind of gets heavily executed in the next hour or two, then I'm going to get a pro rata share of the week, okay? So one of the strengths of this is that in the other models, if there's only like $100 worth of liquidity on the first day, then that $100 gets 1/7 of all of the rewards for that week. Whereas in this model, because we take a snapshot of the entire week and prorata everyone's volume, if you were to come right now and you were to create a strategy and say, I want to sell $200,000 worth of meth at below market price, it would instantly get executed, and you would have a huge amount of the weekly epoch volume, and you would then get a good amount of those estimated rewards. So basically, it doesn't really care who is first or who is longer. All it really cares is who is selling the most tokens effectively, or execute whose tokens are actually being sold and traded in this system. So that's an important distinction between the reward system of Graphene and the reward system of even Velocimeter and other different AMAs. That's another piece of another bunch of information for you to kind of try to digest. And I guess I'm going to stop there for now and kind of take a small breath and get a drink of water.
Thank you so much, Caesar. Honestly, I think I'm going to have to go back and watch some of this again to learn some more tips and tricks. And for anybody who's wondering, we are going to upload a recording. I think Citizens of Mantle will get that early. So if you're a COM holder and you have that role, you should have access to that early. With that being said, the chat is like, honestly, I'm about to mess up the recording because I'm just dying laughing from everything that's going on in the chat. I see Mark too here just giggling. But I know we're running.
That was awesome. Caesar, don't worry. The chat is mostly memes and people saying how much they love you.
I want to be mindful of time. So I know we're coming up on time, but we haven't even started with Aurelius yet. So just going to say this here real quick. If anybody does have to drop off at the time, exactly at 1:30, please feel free to. But I'm going to hand it over to Charles, Corval, and Steven to kick off with Aurelius here before we round out. Oh, actually,
Great,
and one
sweet.
other one other thing, just for anybody who's wondering about the password, we'll announce at the end of this section. It might be a little bit past our end time. Over to you guys.
Oh, well, I don't know how the hell I'm going to follow that. The tutorial himself. But I'm going to do my best. So hello again. So I'm excited to talk about Aurelius. Thank you, Corval, for sharing the screen. So a very brief sort of background on us. So he was from Phantom and then Optimism as well. I'm crackling a bit. Oh no. Corval, do you want to take like 1 second? And I'm going to switch mics.
Sure, yeah. So we have experience building on several networks, but let's speed run this a little bit and get in kind of what Aurelius is and why you'd want to use it. So Aurelius is a CDP, collateralized deposition stablecoin market. Okay, welcome back. And a lending protocol smashed together. So you can mint a stablecoin, aUSD, off of some of our premium collateral assets here. And you can also enter our lending market here and generate some yield off of loans. Charles, I'm going to pass it back to you because you got the practice, dude.
I got the practice. Yeah, totally. So we, a couple of years ago, we built a product called Graphene Finance, which was an Aave v2 fork. Optimized it a bunch for gas and interest rates. Did a couple small tweaks, and had a lot of experience with lending through Graphene. And then on Optimism, we developed a product called Ethos Reserve, and it was a liquidity fork. It is a liquidity fork, and Ethos was able to rehypothecate assets. So essentially, stablecoin minters, their collateral could be routed to other protocols, Aave, Compound, other lending protocols to generate yield, and that yield could be directed towards the stablecoin. After a while, what we realized is that first of all, we don't want to have to rely on any external protocols in terms of our risk. We want to manage all of our own risk, and we want to trust in our own work because a lot of our devs, most of them are ETH security engineers. So what we realized is we can smash these two together, like Corval said, and we can make what we like to call a native credit layer. So it is basically a one-stop shop for everything you need in terms of lending. So like what was mentioned, aUSD stablecoin, and then there is an embedded lending market in the protocol. And what happens is stablecoin minters, so aUSD minters, they put down collateral, they borrow the stablecoin. Their collateral is used to bootstrap the supply side of the lending protocol. So essentially, the collateral is being deposited into the supply side of the lending market. Obviously, with some parameters around, how much can be allocated. There's a bunch of risk testing that goes into this. But essentially, what that does is it brings down borrowing rates on the lending market a whole lot. And the borrower interest on the lending market some of the interest that's paid by the borrowers goes to the stablecoin minters via the stability pool. So essentially, the result of this is an extremely competitive place to lend and borrow assets. Extremely good rates to borrow, and that essentially brings in more borrowers and scales the stablecoin yield as the protocol grows. So it's a sustainable source of
Sustainable
yield.
source of yield. There you go. Sorry, cutting out a bit. Oh, Charles, are you gone for good now?
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, so yes, the idea is that it's a sustainable source of yield as the protocol grows. The APR should grow in matching pace for minters of aUSD. So I think we kind of wanted to show how this whole process kind of works. I've got a little wallet here loaded up to show you kind of the basic process of entering a stability pool and opening up a aUSD position. So let's get started here. I have some Mantle. Oh, it might not be wrapped. This might be a problem. Thank you, Shah. Let me check something real quick here. Ooh. Yeah, it's not wrapped. Sorry about that. Let me switch wallets real quick.
While he's doing that, I'm going to chill Aurelius a little bit and why I love it and why I think it's fantastic. I'm a fan of liquidity. I like the model in many ways. There are some things I don't like, but I really like liquidity. And I really like Aurelius much more because of its internal rehypothecation. Liquidity is forced to kind of emit tokens to the people in the stability pool, whereas because the assets in Aurelius are lent automatically to anyone who wants to borrow. So in the case he's going to use Mantle to mint some stable coins, his Mantle is then lent to other people. And those people who borrow that Mantle have to pay interest. And that interest is what they've said is that it's going to help to pay for the stability. The stability pool will kind of help to maintain the peg of the stable coin. So because they've lent it out and that lending APR can be used to help make the stable coin much more healthy. So to me, it's brilliant in that they've put everything in-house and they've de-risked the third party, choices of other teams trying to create problems. Because lending markets are traditionally quite dangerous. There's been a lot of team errors in DeFi. So I'm really happy to see that these Byte Masons and Aurelius has brought it all in-house and so forth. So this is why I'm very bullish on Aurelius.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caesar. Yeah, so kind of a little deception there. I'm actually going to use wrapped ETH because it's what I've got available. Really sorry about that. Always forget to wrap my stuff. But no, I mean, it's entirely the point, Caesar, of kind of the direction we're building this in is we're very cognizant of kind of the risks of lending markets from our experience working in DeFi these last few years. And so moving it all in-house is kind of the most simple way we found to provide that additional layer of security. But here we are. This is opening. I'm opening a wrapped ETH position here. Minimum borrow of $50 here. And as you can see, we have a dashboard here that kind of lets you know what the status of this position is going to be, the collateral ratio that you'll need to maintain to avoid potential liquidations, the small fee you'll have to pay because there is no interest on the loan itself on the mint. Well, Potato Juice, I got great news for you, but sorry, I got to close up the chat. I get distracted. A small deposit and your position in the troves. So for redemptions, because this is a liquidity model, if you're your trove falls too low, you do risk redemption. Now, we have a nice liquidation price. So you can kind of be aware of what the price of your underlying asset needs to be above to be protected, and the total debt that you'll need to pay back when you're ready to close out the position. But let's go ahead and open this up. You can see here, I'm opening an Ethereum position, depositing 0.025 wrapped ETH, valued at $90, borrowing 50, with a collateral ratio of 163%. So I'm pretty safe for now. All things going well. Okay. And now we just wait. And currently we do have a points program. So for certain actions on the platform, you will get rewarded some points. For a potential airdrop in the future. And let's see here. Just waiting for this transaction to complete. There we go. All right. So big fan of this dashboard also. Kind of shows kind of, well, I already had a position open on this wallet, but you can see kind of where we are. I borrowed 55 USD with my Ethereum position. I'm healthy. This is my existing position, 600, also healthy. Important to keep that in mind. And then we go to the deposit section here. So you can see I already have a position in this stability pool. I've deposited these tokens. I've already generated some wrapped Mantle rewards. And again, this is the SALT that I was mentioning, our points program. The stability pool has the highest SALT rewards, 30x multiplier. So definitely a position you want to be in if you're really bullish on Aurelius, which I kind of hope you are after this. And the APR I'm kind of expecting, 29%. Again, this is mainly sourced from the lending market and the fees generated there. And you can see here where I can claim my rewards. Again, I already claimed them earlier today, so we don't get to see that exciting moment. But let's move on here to another interesting part here, where we can see kind of the analytics underlying each vault and see how each is performing and contributing to the overall health of the system. Useful information for verifying kind of the safety and health of the project, and we like to keep that surfaced for everybody. And then finally, our points page, where you can see kind of where you're ranked. See, I'm doing not bad, and how much SALT you've accumulated as we move forward with the points program. So yes, thank you, Charles. Things I should touch on: one-click looping on the market, aUSD leverage tool to help you max out your collateral, new assets on the market coming, and we're also building the staked USD vault, which will have stability pool rewards and additional liquidation rewards. So we've got some things coming on down the pike here for Aurelius, but as it stands now, still a very useful tool for operating on Mantle, tapping into some liquidity on some assets that you maybe don't want to sell, but just want to borrow against. And I really hope that you guys give it a try. Like we said at the top of the show, that if you mint some aUSD in the next couple hours, we'll choose 4 people who have minted over $1,000 worth of aUSD and reward you 50 Mantle. So give that a shot. And that's my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed. Any questions?
Amazing. Charles, I don't know if your mic is working. It sounds like you're having some trouble still. Steven, did you have anything to add on the Aurelius side, on the community side maybe?
Just wanted to say that Aurelius is really dope. Like, even for the assets that you don't want to sell and you don't want to pay interest on, it's like a great platform to put them in. Just get some stable coins, like get aUSD, and then do it whatever you want. Like, live your life, or go earn some yield on some of the LPs that we have across the Mantle system. There's so much to do. There's so many strategies that we could present, but that would take us over an hour now. And even though I'm part of the team now, even before, like, I'm just loving it. The stuff that you can do with Aurelius is just, it's a lot, and it's very awesome. And we do have a lot of things incoming. Like Orville said, we also have a whole new rebrand of the UI. It's going to be sleeker, and yeah, and we'll share, can't share now, but down the line today probably we'll share a lot of exciting stuff about the SOL program. Just stay tuned. New things coming, exciting, and everybody's at collecting SOL. You're gonna have a bit more ways to collect SOL, and the ways that you're having it now, it's gonna be even better. So yeah, stay tuned. And check out our Discord or Twitter. Follow us, and yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna leave it there in terms of covering each individual team here, but I just want to say thank you so much for all of our speakers up here. We nearly packed it in on time. Thank you guys for staying over. I do want to give you guys one more opportunity to drop anything else. Maybe you have some upcoming campaigns, some ongoing campaigns, something else that you forgot to mention. So maybe we can just go around quickly. I'll kick it back to Jen and Mark on the Carbon Bancor side. Any final words here before we close out?
I'll start. Sure. Really, if anybody has any questions, about Graphene and things of that sort, obviously Caesar is here. Please reach out to him. But, you can also reach out to myself and to Mark as well, whether you are a liquidity provider or a trader or even a token project that's looking to, create strategies and provide liquidity on Graphene. Definitely reach out to us. I think we're all active on Discord and Telegram and Twitter and everywhere else that you can, reach us or, imagine. We've got accounts there. So don't hesitate. I shared a couple of blogs in response to a few questions in the chat. So I definitely recommend reading some blogs. And yeah, I really just want to thank you for having us here and for the audience as well for tuning in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe we could pass over to Caesar. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you, Mark. Oh, Mark, did you have something to add there? Saw you unmute.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone's attention and thank you for hosting the call.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Caesar, I'll hand it over to you. Any last words, any announcements, any last-minute alpha you want to drop?
Yeah, I just want to echo Mark and say thank you. I tend to blabber on for quite a bit, and I try to keep it as concise as possible. But there's a lot of information to give out, and there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of ability in these protocols. Both of the protocols that we've talked about today, I love them both, and I think they have a very good synergy and they work very well together. But they also can do wonderful things that are completely unconnected. So, I love it. I love them both so much. So I'm really happy, like I said, to be here and talk to everybody and kind of say that about these two protocols.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Caesar. I think there's a lot of, what we try to do here is make, knowledge applicable to sort of your everyday life in DeFi or on Mantle in general, whether that's gaming or DeFi, etc. So thank you so much for walking us through and providing some sort of practical application. And like I said, we'll upload a recording so people can go back and sort of dip their toes in with some of your guidance there. So that's super helpful. Let's kick it over to Aurelius, Corval, Charles, Stephen. I know we just kind of ended on you guys, but is there anything else? Stephen, I think you were going to whisper some alpha into everybody's ear, or maybe it was Corval. I don't know.
That was the alpha that I wanted to share actually before, right before you kicked out the ending. Yeah, that we just follow us today on Twitter and on Discord, and we'll put up a little surprise for everybody that's farming and that's using Aurelius. Orville, if you want to add something to that, feel free to.
Yeah, no, really thankful for you letting us join you guys on stage here today. And echoing Caesar's statement, I think the synergies are pretty apparent, especially if you're big on Mantle. Definitely a good launching off point on Aurelius, and hope to see you there. Hope to see you in the Discord. And again, you can reach out to me or anyone on the team either through Discord or on Twitter. So eager to chat with you all some more. And yeah, this was really fun.
Awesome. And without further ado, thank you all so much. For everybody who's waiting for the password is Carbon, all lowercase, CARBON. You guys can spam the chat with that, but don't forget to also take part in the Aurelius rewards by going ahead and minting some aUSD. If you guys have questions, you can always join their channels. We'll also be hanging out here for just a little bit, but also go dip your toes in over at Graphene as well. Create a strategy there, and just start exploring if you're new there. And we'd love to hear your experience. If you guys have tips, if you guys have ideas about what we can improve generally in Mantle DeFi, we're here in our Discord as well to chat with you. If you guys have an idea or a project that you'd like to see on a future deep dive, also open to hearing your guys' perspective there. We'd love to bring on crowd favorites, all of which, the projects up here, that applies to all of them as well. So just really quickly on the Mantle side, some really quick announcements here. So just keep an eye out for CMET. If you're not familiar, I'm going to post some links here, but it's a restaked version of METH. Some exciting things coming up there, including points program. The swag contest, which is ongoing. If you're a designer, designers, artists you'd love to see designing Mantle swag, ask them to join. I'll post all these links here in just one moment. And then Bybit also just posted a campaign that they're kicking off, Bybit X Mantle NFT campaign. So I'll share those details. That's going to start later this week. And then finally is just keep an eye out also for FBTC. Can't say much more than that, but watch the space, join those channels. There's a lot of exciting things going on there too. If you want to maximize yield within the Mantle ecosystem, Mantle is one of the core contributors there over at FBTC, which is basically a yield-bearing version of FBTC. So we'll be sort of core to the initial launch of that asset. Yeah, awesome. Thank you everybody so much. Thanks Jen, thanks Mark, Charles, Caesar, Corval, Steven, everybody in the audience. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, see you around.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Adios.
Thanks for having me.